It's time to put your health in your own hands. Get ready to learn from today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Laura Nelson Streicher. She completed her Bachelor of Arts degree in mathematics and also in economics cum laude in 1983 at the Randolph-Macon Women's College. She had a successful career as an analyst manager in advanced software development. As a natural-born healing facilitator, she sought a way to develop her consciousness and abilities. She began practicing yoga, meditation, and holistic healing, but it was not until she met Guruji Mahendra Trivedi, founder of the Trivedi Effect, in February 2010 that she truly began to discover the power of her innate healing abilities. She was impressed by extensive scientific validation and testimonials related to the results of the Trivedi Effect. Laura was then deeply moved and inspired by the energy transmission effects on her father, who was recovering from a stroke. At that time, she committed to the Trivedi Healers Mastery Program. Laura's ability to harness and transmit intelligent life force energy has been scientifically validated and published in her biofield energy transmission experiment results that have been featured in many peer-reviewed journals. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Tammy. It's wonderful to be here.
Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that the Trivedi Effect can really help with. And one of them is anxiety. And I understand that anxiety is a huge problem in general. So can you kind of just give me an overview of what the issue is?
Yes, anxiety is a general feeling of worry or nervousness or unease, usually about an imminent situation or something with an uncertain outcome. For example, after my father had a stroke, my family was filled with anxiety about what would happen next. And he, of course, was afraid of the process of his healing and the recovery and all of that. And after I was receiving energy transmissions, I noticed a shift in our whole family to one of calmness and relaxation, receptivity, and working with the therapists. And I thought, well, this is something that could be useful to other people. And part of my passion is to support others in their healing process and self-actualization and self-discovery. And part of that is serving humanity to support people in finding ease in their lives and following their true spirit in the every day of their lives.
So you really did have a lot of anxiety in your personal life when your father was recovering. So what exactly, how does somebody recognize anxiety?
Well, it's a feeling of unease or worry. Sometimes it can be associated with nail biting or emotional withdrawal or even lashing out or irritability. Those are the emotional signs of it. And sometimes people who have anxiety notice it in their children as well. It can manifest in many different ways, generally a feeling of discomfort or unease. I remember when I was a child, my mother had a heart condition and she was often taken to the hospital, and I started biting my nails at that time. It went away, but that's one of the behaviors that is associated with it. And anxiety is quite common. It affects 40 million adults in the United States. And they've shown that research has shown that 31.9% of children are affected between the ages of 13 and 18. So it's quite common. And the World Health Organization has indicated that 1 out of 13 people suffer from some form of anxiety worldwide. So there are many people who have the symptoms of discomfort and unease that result in either some form of irritability, nail biting, or lashing out, or withdrawal. And you see that sometimes in children in schools. They'll become emotionally withdrawn if they have some sort of situation at home that brings anxiety into their lives. And as I mentioned earlier, the elderly have anxiety as well due to fear of falls or illnesses, or who might take care of them if they became ill, those kinds of things. So it manifests in all different levels of society. And it has a financial burden too. Excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat. But it can affect people on a physical level. They can have high blood pressure, tension, headaches. Sometimes the cortisol levels in people rise, which results in obesity, which can lead to the possibility of heart disease or stroke as well. Financially, many people have a lot of downtime because they're trying to address the anxiety, and some of them turn to alcohol or substance abuse as part of that. And the Harvard Medical School found that the cost of that often seemed to run into like $65 billion per year in a recent study.
Wow, billions of dollars in just from anxiety alone. I know one of my sons has anxiety, and it has really hurt him because it makes it so that he doesn't even like to go to the grocery store or be around people. And, think about that. If you have anxiety and it stops you from going to the store, then it can really limit a lot of your life. So with anxiety, what are some common methods of treatment available today?
Before I go into that, I just want to make one point about, even though it's a huge cost to society, the compassion of people who work in the fields of counseling and psychotherapy, and the general public has a lot of compassion for people who have this disorder, this problem. And it's not to say that it's a cost on society to set them aside, but out of compassion, the money is spent. I read online woman who read about the social impact and cost, and she took it in a way that, like she wasn't worth being cared for. And I just wanted to make that point out of compassion, that the costs are not being brought up out of discompassion, but out of compassion for, that flow is out there for people who need help. And the common treatments for anxiety include counseling, psychotherapy, and that includes cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as anti-anxiety drugs and antidepressants. There's another form of a new form of therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy as well. But cognitive behavioral therapy is effective on a long and short-term basis. It requires about 12 to 20 sessions, and it's effective for resolving the symptoms long-term. However, learning the technique is difficult, and one has to actually face their fears in the process of going through cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's difficult to find some of the well-trained practitioners. In terms of the medication, they're only 50% effective, and of that 50%, only 20 to 40% have the symptom reduction, or the symptom reduction is only 20 to 40%. So it's kind of limited in that way. They also used to have electroconvulsive therapy, which they don't use as much anymore now, but they have something called transcranial magnetic stimulation, where they use magnetic coils to stimulate different parts of the brain to ease the conductivity, I believe, in the brain. However, there are alternative ways as well, such as diet modification by eliminating coffee or sugar or food additives, maybe food sensitivity such as gluten or yeast or eggs, things like that. There's acupuncture and meditation and yoga. However, I've had a number of people call me asking for help in anxiety situations, people who've received the energy transmissions, which are a part of the Trivedi effect, and they have found that it brings calmness, peace of mind, serenity. And for example, one woman was experiencing quite a lot of anxiety about some surgery she was about to have for a hip replacement. She was experiencing mental anguish, is what she called it. And after one energy transition from me, she wrote me back and said, I am feeling relief. I'm feeling confident about everything, including recovery. And so it was a really good example of how that can be effective. It's a one-time treatment. The results were effective throughout her particular surgery. And she did come back to me for other things as well. So that was a good example. There was another woman who was changing jobs within the same field, but she was still feeling anxious about it was a different sort of clientele. And after an energy transmission, she felt more comfortable and more confident about going into this new position. Another woman came to me about her fear about and anxiety about taking over as executor or executrix of her brother's estate. And it was a very emotional situation for her, and she was feeling a lot of anxiety about dealing with her family. And that went smoothly after that. So I'm giving these examples to show that it's a one-time treatment. And although I've not treated people who've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, it is a good treatment for those who are experiencing anxiety. I do have a business relationship with a licensed professional counselor who has agreed to send me some of her patients experiencing anxiety or post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a form of anxiety. And I guess she also was interested in sending people who were experiencing obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is another form of anxiety. So that is something that we're getting more research and data eventually on the effectiveness on more significant occurrences of the anxiety in people in general. I remembered another one, the woman who was anxious about her cat. Her cat seemed to be ill and possibly dying, and she wasn't sure what to do about it and was feeling a lot of intense energy. And when she called, I gave her the energy transmission, and the next day she wrote me and said, I know what to do. So she set up palliative care, and the cat passed within a week. So as I said, given the results so far, the Trivedi effect through energy transmissions is a natural and effective potential alternative therapy with no side effects. However, each person is unique and may have a different response to the energy transmissions. And one should consult their licensed professional caregiver before seeking out alternative treatment. But it looks like there are many possibilities for it working well with the anxiety disorders in a situation as complementary care, along with something like cognitive behavioral therapy or something else like that. So I seem to have gone on with that. Did you have another question, Tammy?
Yes. Well, it's really interesting because that's what I was thinking about, the fact that you're working with a licensed therapist and they're looking at this as a complement to the work that they're doing. And it is interesting because when you were talking about the medications and everything, the one thing about medications is all of the side effects. I mean, if you've ever seen, even on TV, when they talk about all the benefits of all of these pills, then there's always this long list of the contraindications, that all the things that are not good that come along with some of the benefits. So sometimes that's kind of scary. I was looking at your website, and you have a very interesting tagline or philosophy: let your spirit lead, live gracefully. So using that, how would you connect that to anxiety and that complementary type of relationship for anxiety? Let your spirit lead, live gracefully.
Well, Guruji Mahendra Trivedi is the founder and discoverer of the Trivedi effect, and he has often said, let your spirit lead, because when one is connected to spirit, that essence in nature, which connects all of us on a deep level, there is no fear, there is no separation from the divine, or there's oneness, there's wholeness, and there's that flow of the divine through you that is you in your expression. And when one is connected in that way through the energy transmissions, there is a sense of grace, a wholeness, a peace. And that's the exact opposite of anxiety. But the reason I chose it was my spirit guided me to choose that, because I feel like it's the expression of what we're all here to do. And that is express our true nature in every activity, in every interaction, in every aspect of our lives. And when that separation occurs out of fear, or mistrust, or bad experiences such as trauma, then it just needs to be, a person just needs to be reconnected and reminded of that connection with wholeness and with grace. And so in my practice, connecting people to the source of their true source, of their divine, whatever they want to call it. It doesn't matter what you believe in, but we all have some aspect of ourselves that is underlying. I mean, you can't just look at the stars at night and think we're the only thing out there. So, this universal life force energy is something that is there. And through Guruji Mahendra Trivedi's programs, I was gifted with the ability to transmit this life force energy, which I had the natural healing gifts, but this it amplified them and allowed me to be able to help others and support humanity in the way that I've always felt was part of my destiny. And helping people with anxiety is part of that. But it's just in general that I want to bring that sense of peace and grace in connecting people to their source. And if one doesn't believe in something greater than themselves, it still works, because I've seen Guruji give energy transmissions to people who were very skeptical. One lady had cancer, stage 4 cancer, and she didn't believe it would work, but she allowed him to do it, to give her energy transmissions, and she came into remission within days. So it's effective on a level beyond what one believes. But the idea is to connect to the source and allow that life force energy to flow through and smooth everything and soothe everything in one's life to live gracefully.
That's really a beautiful way to put it. So I understand that you have done a lot of work with the Trivedi effect and the science. Can you tell me more about some of the scientific experiments you've been involved in?
Yes. When I was convinced by the effect on my family to join Guruji's programs, I had no idea I would be receiving this gift, first of all, to be able to do these energy transmissions, but to also participate in the science experiments. It started out with group experiments in which 17 or 18 of us would be in a group and send energy or connect herbo minerals with their divine source to amplify and potentiate the effectiveness of the herbo mineral compounds. And those results were significant, with electrolytes going up 70%, hemoglobin going up 100% in the in vivo studies. The other experiments in my own other experience included my individual energy transmissions on vitamin D3, which is essential for cellular health, neurological health, and my results there were very significant. I had 260% increase in ALP, which is a bone-specific enzyme necessary for bone health. The collagen levels went up 250%, and the bone mineralization, which is they're all important aspects of preventing osteoporosis and osteopenia. And the bone mineralization went up, I think I said 130%. So I feel really good about that particular experiment. And we have recently just done another one, which is on human cells, in which we worked on human kidney, liver, lung, heart, and brain cells as well. And it will also be used for bone health, including vitamin D receptors and the intelligence of those. So that's an exciting study, which I'm looking forward to finding out the results of. And I'm definitely planning on contacting some naturopath and osteopath and showing them the results, as well as general practitioners, to potentially work with them in assisting people with their bone health and preventing things like osteopenia and osteoporosis.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, I had some experience with low vitamin D when I had a parathyroid tumor, and the beauty of our bodies is the healing process. Your bones will remineralize and rebuild themselves. And I think if you have that positive energy, think about it, a lot of really cool things could happen. Before I let you go, first of all, I'd like to know, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to do that?
Well, my website is laurastreicher.net. That's LauraStreicher.net. And my phone number is 641-919-6536. Okay.
And do you have any last words, anything that you'd like to add?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful to you for organizing this interview, and to Guruji Mahendra Trivedi for allowing me to be able to give these energy transmissions by the grace of God or the divine. And I want to thank the listeners for connecting with their spirit and deciding if there's something that they need to do in their lives for themselves, whether it's this or whatever their spirit is leading them to enrich their lives and to bring more grace into their lives in every way. So thank you to all.
That's great. So everyone, you can go find out more about Laura and the science and look at the different programs and testimonials there at laurastreicher.net. Everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to today's top health and wellness innovators and thought leaders on Optimal Health Radio. To get more solid health and wellness information, visit optimalhealthradio.com.